Becoming a thought leader is easier than ever. In this video, I'm going to show you some tricks and what thought leadership really is. Thought leadership is just someone who's positioned themselves as an expert or influencer in a specific space. And I use the word influencer very intentionally because thought leadership is just being an influencer in a sense, as you're going to create content or you're going to be an expert. So when you say something, people listen. That is a thought leader. Let's talk about the different platforms you can do that. So the first and easiest is social media. Creating content like this on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, Reels, whatever is trending at the time. That is one piece of influence which is going to turn you into a thought leader. Now, I view thought leadership as a little bit different. I view it more as a holistic approach and being an all-around expert. So it's not just what you can do on one social media platform, it's what you can do across the board and carry influence throughout different platforms. So the next piece of that that's really easy is creating a blog, but your personal blog only has a certain amount of expertise behind it. So you want to become a contributor on outlets like Entrepreneur, Forbes, Inc., and produce consistent content, which is part of that thought leadership, is really being a contributor and having an outlet to tell people their expertise. YouTube is one that's great for that, but you don't borrow the expertise of YouTube because it's just your channel and your thought leadership. So how do you marry that and become a higher level of expert? Well, it's to be a contributorship on things like Entrepreneur. And how do you do that? In a simple sense, you build that personal brand, you have that blog, you start writing for Medium, you start writing for other lower tier outlets, and you build that media kit, and then you pitch that to those outlets. Now, for Entrepreneur, there's different ways to get in there. A lot of them, the one that I'm most familiar with is having business success, but they don't just look at the amount of revenue or how much money you've raised, they also look at your personal brand. Now, the next piece of thought leadership is your positioning in the media. So TV, radio, podcast, getting your story out there. So your public facing communication, and you can do that through pitching the public. So using media list, finding out who your ideal audience is, creating that list, contacting them individually through LinkedIn, through email, through Twitter, through phone calls, and getting your story told. Now, a publicist is probably a great way to do this, but there's some other tricks. Stick around to the end. I'm gonna show you a free way to do this. I'm gonna give you a freebie, so you really wanna stick around. But getting your story told in the public, so feature articles, guest articles, contributorship articles, all of those will help broaden your audience and get you more eyeballs, but also give you that credibility, because when people Google you, they're gonna quickly Google and they're gonna see things you control, your website, your brand, your social media, your LinkedIn. All of that is fully curated, controlled by you. But if you take things like podcasts, that not your podcast, but a big podcast that someone else's, if you take a feature article on Entrepreneur, a feature article on Forbes, things like this will add a huge level of credibility and thought leadership. Now, the next level of this, this is all kind of in a branding game in a sense. It's building your influence. It's then using your influence to grow. So speaking opportunities, TEDx, pitching these opportunities, being a keynote speaker, speaking at universities are all ways to build that. And one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, is start by speaking at universities. I've spoken at the University of Florida multiple times. I've spoken to different colleges about entrepreneurship and about business, and that's the first piece of it. But then I can leverage that for a TEDx, and then you have a good TEDx, you leverage that for a keynote speaker, you leverage that for paid opportunities. The piece after that I think is kind of critical is, a book. So it seems like a lot of work, but it's all toward that thought leadership, building that expertise, and they all work together to level you up. Most speakers I know have a book, so they're promoting their book or they're giving their book away for free, which is then a lead funnel back into their business, their service, whatever they're selling. The credibility of having a book and being that thought leader, because I'm a speaker, I'm an entrepreneur contributor, I'm an author, and I check off all these boxes, and it's not just to check off the box. It has to be meaningful and useful for you and your business and your end goal of building awareness for your brand, building awareness for you. One of the places I see this as being super critical is just being that expert. My background is really business development and entrepreneurship and scaling businesses, and that's really what I'm trying to get myself known for. But my company is PR. The reason why I don't try to dial down just in public relations is because if I only talk about media relations and public relations, what I'm going to do is end up training a whole bunch of publicists, which is not my ideal audience or my target. So you got to figure out how to leverage that and position yourself to be an expert where your audience is and where they're actually listening so that it adds value. If you guys like content like this, please make sure to subscribe. And I know I did promise you a freebie, so I'm giving away a free article to USA Wire. Make sure to click that link in the description and you'll get a free article. This will help you leverage your thought leadership. You can write about anything you want as long as it's within our terms of service, and typically goes up within 24 hours. But those articles, those feature articles, is a big piece of thought leadership. You can leverage articles and you can leverage every little piece of this for more continued thought leadership and social proof. So if you do a speaking opportunity or you get yourself a business award, you got to make sure to share that with your email list, share it on your social media, and re-leverage it and build on top of it. And they're just blocks, Legos into your success and your thought leadership. And it's the same thing with building a brand, a personal brand or a business brand. You have to use all of these things to build on top of each other. If you do a TEDx and you don't tell anyone about it, the only people that sell at TEDx will be a very few amount of people. But if you do an email to your list and you link to the video and you do an ad about it and you do an ad with that, you're increasing your views and you're using that credibility of TEDx or any other platform and you're 10xing it. And that's the critical piece, and really building that thought leadership. And if you write a book but you don't advertise it and you don't talk about it in your platforms, then what was the point? You have to advertise it, and you have to advertise yourself and your personal brand. Anyways, please make sure to subscribe if you guys like content like this.